now we have first Drone Congress second day, which means that this starts to be a little like a tradition. Be here, welcome. And a little bit about the yesterday. We had the very good lectures showing a lot how the whole ecosystem is working, what kind of processes we need to have in the good condition when we are talking about the drones and drones as a part of the critical infrastructure, as Aapo was telling in his first lecture, and what Professor Martti Lehto was also showing that that you had to plan everything very well from the first development stage until to the users, and we had to also understand that the drones are everything with unmanned vehicles by electric or AI. It's not only the flying objects, but all kinds of objects where are the risks in the security also. Okay, and then in the afternoon we have legislation and new ideas on how to handle the data, and data Arjen Koivisto was showing the extremely advanced systems in the military, which are coming in the civilian side, and then also this Golf project where I was flying over the Estonia and Helsinki, very long way and interesting projects. Korean people were showing that the police is just acting. They don't study the thing so much, but they build the drones for the needs, and they use them and try to save the lives and make the better processes for the citizens. And now we go to the second day, and Antti Perttula, he specialized in the quality and the planning, the systems, and we will have a very interesting lecture. Please.
Okay, thank you very much. It's very nice to be here with you, and yesterday was very, very interesting indeed. Also in that sense that some presentations, they are exactly the same things what I have in my presentation, which is good to repeat things. So yes, I come from Tampere, and we are there like one university community nowadays, and my topic is really about it doesn't. I don't know what is it. Okay, maybe I have to use it this way. Okay, so about drones and drones in smart city, and we have a case there. It's called Hiedaranta. It's a part of Tampere. It used to be place for some paper and plastic industry, and we are actually transforming it to like a normal residential area. Here, this is about the content what I talk, so about the Hiedaranta as such first, and then applications what we think that in smart city drones can do, and then about challenges and risks and safety, and these things are quite much similar what we heard yesterday. Drone even can be a weapon, which is quite dangerous indeed. And risk management a little bit, because we are trying to use the drones in urban environment. There are many people there close, and also buildings and infrastructure there. And then we have made concrete plan with some highways or corridors where drones can fly in this part of city. So in short, this is it. So first about, okay, maybe you know Tampere. It's a place here a little bit going north, taking train 1.5 hours, then you're in Tampere. So it's 240 years old, created by Gustav III of Sweden, and it's the biggest inland city in Nordic countries. And then Hiedaranta is an area located about 4 kilometers away from the center of Tampere. It used to be, like I said, place for many kinds of industry. And now there isn't any industry left, but there are many buildings left. And that's very interesting because we are able to use it like testing laboratory for our use. I have, if I have time, in the end 1 minute video about our VTOL drone, which is flying first in this area and then somewhere else. And okay, this is quite big place, okay, 2.5 square kilometers, and will house something like 25,000 people in future and 10,000 jobs. So quite big as such, big project. And what we could do with drones, okay, I think so. We all know this freight packet transportation is maybe the key now, because it's very close to concrete. Like I heard the lady from Wing that okay, they can possible already show this to us. We have also drone which can fly and deliver packets. Can fly about 100 kilometers per hour and they can land like helicopter. So and this is, by the way, one project what we started in summertime, that maybe we could, with the face recognition, we could look at elderly people's faces, and if something is wrong, then okay, the drone sends request to a nurse or somebody to go and check what is happening there at home. So that's what we try to do. Okay, and also we have a project with security organization and search and rescue organizations. And traffic monitoring is where we certainly can use, like we heard yesterday, and firefighting also, and air quality monitoring. That's one project what we are also developing now to measure fine particles by drone. So basically, you could say that it's easy, just take a drone and with some measuring equipment, and that's it. But it's not easy, because you know it's a helicopter basically, and then what are you measuring? It's a good question. We try to solve that. And then this freight transportation logistics. So you know these big companies, DHL and Amazon, and so they have, and here is in Reykjavik I found that they have also a system which is quite well working already. And then okay, Amazon is interested in, UPS says that with drone they think they can cut costs. So that's a quite good indication. So big company thinks that drones can cut costs. So drones will be cheaper than doing it with old-fashioned way. And then, okay, this is in the end of my presentation. I have a map of the Sierraranta area and how we are planning to make those flying corridors and emergency landing places and charging stations and so on. But here is the problem or challenge, that we can't just straight away start flying autonomously. So we will, I guess, hear from Traficom after my presentation how this will be changed. But now it requires some time. I mean, if I have a Pepe's Pizza and somebody calls me, I want to have pizza delivered. I say, yes, it comes in 10 minutes, okay? And drone goes and takes it. But it doesn't work like that yet. So we have, I'm quite proud of this, we have made this kind of VTOL type of drone in Tamk, exactly a startup company started by some students, our students, and they have developed it for 3 years now. So this is the drone, and now it's hovering here, and it drops packets to post, this kind of post box what was also developed by us. It's quite funny, yellow like post should be. So I have in the end, I have a video on that. And this is what we heard yesterday also, like I guess we are even the same picture, and in Switzerland they are delivering blood samples and some other stuff for healthcare there by drone. It's a Swiss Post is there, like the operator. And monitoring and controlling, this is, I think, so what certainly we heard yesterday. But what we have done, we have also done checkings how well or how healthy are buildings and antenna masts and bridges and chimneys and so on. And here is one example. We took a video with a drone from a metal structure, and then with very simple with the commercial software, we were able to find out that okay, some bolts are missing here. So just having the video clip and then run this software, and then it highlights if there is any problems. So that's what we did already I think 2 years ago. And okay, maybe not much more here. And then this challenge is again what we quite a lot discussed yesterday. So we can maybe divide this in technical risks and non-technical risks. Technical means hardware, software, and communication channels, and the thing which is not like done by humans. And that also, like 1 year ago, we tried to make some fine particle measurements, and students did it. I wasn't there, I don't know if that's an excuse, but we almost lost one drone because the probe what we attached to drone, it caused EMC problems to GPS antenna. So it almost completely failed and crashed, but didn't completely. It was so now students really understand that this is EMC issue. It's a very serious thing. And okay, this external jamming. Certainly you can, I think on next slide I have some examples that you can buy if you want this kind of jammers very easily and very cheaply, which is quite sad, by the way. And non-technical, it's also about operators' competencies. It's not only that we have bad people who want to destroy our things, but if you can't do it, then that's causing problems, and that's also what will be covered by, I think, with the Traficom's regulations, that there must be some kind of knowledge until you start doing it and proceed. So like in aviation, yes, I have also worked for Finnish Air Force and really like real aviation area. So I think we should really move to that direction, especially when we have bigger drones. And somehow I feel a little bit strange that we have examples of big drones which can lift persons. We can take person from one place to another having a drone. So I don't understand this basically much, because we already have helicopters. They have been tested, they are safe and reliable. Why do we need to make, again, starting it from scratch and causing serious risks to human beings? That's like my opinion. Well, because we have airplanes and helicopters available. What is the point? Okay, and then this is spying, what we heard, and then okay, this is also I have on next slide also something about this AI, that machines can make decisions by themselves. So then we are coming to quite worrying area. If we don't have basically any control, we just like give a mission to or some parameters to drone, and then drone uses its AI and then goes and for example does it during several weeks or months or years, can fly and look for a person, for example, and then we don't have any control anymore left. So, but nowadays, even if we have an autonomous system, we need to have possibility to take the drone in control. So that's how the situation is, which is good. We need to have like a communication channel available that we can take control if need. And then okay, again, safety. We are now having this Hiedaranta and smart city, and it's an urban area. We have buildings close, certainly, because it's urban, and we have other infrastructure, and then we have people living there, like in this case 25 people living in very close area where we want to fly drones. And then, okay, for example, if jamming happens, okay, drone should land safely and autonomously. That's my thing. And then okay, this I think so. Most of you have noticed this that there isn't enough capacity in normal communication channels. Like we heard that good presentation on data rain, or what was it called? Which can help in this case. But still, if we have more and more users, then okay, the capacity will be not enough. So we are counting on 5G now, and we have, like in Tampere, in some places we have already 5G network in place, and we hope to get it also in Hiedaranta area. And okay, I don't know if there is more which wasn't covered yesterday, so I don't repeat. And still about how to attack drones. So I mean, you can go to this kind of. It's not Alibaba or AliExpress necessary the jammers for you. You pay $200 and you get this kind of nice jammer which can jam all GPS signals, also GLONASS, Wi-Fi and something else. So $200 you get it, and then you can jam it up to 30 meters, which is quite good. And then, okay, if you have more money, you have 3,000 or 4,000 or 6,000, then you can jam up to 1 kilometer with this kind of like gun type of jammer. So very worrying. You just go and buy. And there are even cheaper ones. So and then we can attack to many places. We can attack like system level, flight control computer, or we can change like it was somebody's presentation yesterday that some, I can't remember, some militant somewhere, they took control American drone, I guess. And so you can change navigation data, and then the drone thinks it tries to fly home, for example, and then it thinks that, okay, my home is somewhere else, and then it goes and lands there. So, and that wasn't covered, I guess, yesterday so much, but that's what we have seen, and we have seen it many times, exactly that electronics, at least the electronics what is used in normal drones, and also like motors and even hardware and everything, that they are not anything close to aircraft quality. So they are hopping and so on. I wouldn't put my life, I mean, to be lifted by that kind of things. I rather use normal airplanes, like I said earlier. So that is what we are seeing, that we must do system checking before each flight. We need to check that the motors are okay and there is not fatigue or anything like that. So we need to do it like in normal aviation. And then also this is what we should have. I don't think so it works yet, that during the flight the system would check internally if everything is okay, checking, for example, currents of each motor. If the current increases too much, then it has indication that bearing is wearing out and so on. And then we should also have, like, we should duplicate critical systems like in normal airplanes, that we don't have serious crashes. Okay, drone as a weapon, it's not a new invention, so I found that during First World War these were developed. So this is 1918, so 100 years ago. This was first, it was like a cruise missile. So they were able to pre-program it, and then it sent somewhere, and it was able to fly 121 kilometers and had some 100 kilos of explosions. And so already then we had these things. And then this is what happened just a couple of weeks ago, this in Saudi Arabia. And the drone isn't very small. It was this, you see it here, the size. And it's quite strange because in that area they certainly had anti-missile system, but it didn't catch this. So I'm very much confused why. And then this didn't cause harm, but almost it was 1 year ago in Russia. There was a World Cup game, and ISIS had this kind of device with some rocket launcher and so on. It was caught and didn't cause harm. But this again is very serious problem. And then, okay, here we don't have drones, but they are birds. This is at Heathrow, so many, like flock of birds. But they could be drones as well. Here is what in Canada they simulated, and they have also tested to fly drone in a jet engine, and basically the whole engine it can explode, or at least it will not work at all after this. So it will go in pieces. And here okay, one is, but certainly this doesn't help if somebody is very professional and nasty person. But these no-fly zones, geofencing is what we are going to use certainly there in Hiedaranta area. I guess you all know this geofencing. So basically here is the area, this blue is the area where we can fly the drone, not out, not outside. Not outside of this area, so it's like software-based restriction. Okay, DJI has it. There are airports and prisons and some other things there that you can't fly. And Parrot is I guess the second largest manufacturer or something like that. It has the same feature, but you can turn it off, if I understand right. I have not used Parrot, but that's what I found. And then, okay, you can make your own drone from parts, and then, okay, then you don't have geofencing if you don't want to have it. And then okay, simple way is just use tin foil, aluminum foil, put it around your GPS antenna, and then you can fly manually, and okay, geofencing doesn't have any influence. Or also hacking software is available. So again, this is good for normal persons that you don't by accident go somewhere, but for bad people this is not necessarily very useful. Okay, and then this is, I guess, pretty much what we heard yesterday. One is that drones normally are small. They were bigger ones what destroyed those oil tanks. But normally they are small ones, so thermal signature is small and RF transmission is low. So it's not very easy to detect these things. And for example, like normal air traffic control radar thinks that they are birds, and the radars neglect birds because there are so many. So with normal radar, it's not very easy to find this out. So in companies and working places, you should make this kind of risk analysis also in that sense. What if? Think about what if in everywhere. What if somebody has a drone outside here and looks through a window, and what I have on my laptop here, this is something what can be shared with everybody. Okay, but I guess, and here is, I don't know if you had this picture earlier, but here is a drone. I think this is from DARPA, the US Military Research Center. So there are small drones as well, what you can't even necessarily see. Anti-drone, this is also, I guess, what we quite much found yesterday. So here is a laser for military people. And then, okay, jamming, for example, jamming, or if you want to shoot down, then like with a rifle or a normal gun, it's not easy to do it in Hiedaranta. So we have methods, but not necessarily useful in urban area. So, but this artificial intelligence is quite interesting, so I go there. So AI basically is good and bad. I don't know if you know much about IBM's Deep Locker software. Does anybody know it? Okay, you know, and somebody knows. So it's quite strange. I don't know what was the purpose of this at all. So from IBM, this kind of researcher says about it, okay, you can put several attributes of to identify, for example, the target, the person, faces and time and place and so on, and then this system can automatically then look for this kind of person. And which is really worrying is that they say here, at least in this marketing material, that it's almost impossible to find this software in your software. So you can normal like virus software detectors, they can't find this. So that's quite worrying, and I don't exactly understand what is the IBM's reason to make this kind of thing. But then you put it in your drone, and then it does what it thinks is right. Okay, so again, this has been covered quite a lot. So making things faster and cheaper in smart city, and 5G is what we want to use, and geofencing what we want to use. And here is our drone again, what we have developed, and charging station and so on. And this is one new project what we started in Tampere just in this early this month. So it's about 4 million. Here is 3 point, but as total it will be a 4 million project, and we are having a drones there, not only as threat, but also with the drones we are gaining or getting the overall picture of the city, and if you have football games or any games there and so on. So it's quite big project. So we try to understand how we can protect urban areas with help of drones, and if there are bad drones also against those. And now this is we made quite a long study about this is the Hiedaranta area now. You see the map. And we have put here like landing stations, emergency landing station, no flying zones, and this green one is where heavy drones can fly, and blue is light drones can fly, and so on. So we studied this based on previous material basically, and we proposed this to the city of Tampere that let's start implementing this, and we are confident that this is the best solution there, and let's see how it goes, and 5G is needed, geofencing is needed, and this much. So this was it, but it's 1 minute still. So, and by the way, city logistics is one project we are also running, and there we want to really pilot drones, how they can transfer packets. There are some of these leaflets somewhere there back.
I actually put those leaflets, the bags, takeaway bags, so but it was only
Okay, here we don't have a voice, but it's just this is the industrial area, by the way, and one of those balls. So this is showing how it hovers. This is now in airfield. We did the testing, so it's hovering. That is nice. And then it changes its mode. It's first hovering, and now it starts to fly like normal airplane, something like 80 or 100 kilometers per hour. And then it's quite complicated to change the mode from normal flying mode to helicopter mode. So you'll see it soon when it does it. So it goes like up with a quite high speed, and then it started to like this way, and then it started to come down. So I would say not bad for students to make this kind of things. Because I remember that even F-35 fighter had problems with this kind of feature. So okay, so now any questions or comments?
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, that's very important that the students have possibilities to study with the experience, and one thing what you said that you are surprised about that we are not using the helicopters. I think the same thing with the taxis, that we have everywhere the taxis, but we are focusing on the unmanned vehicles that who can pick us and drive us somewhere.
Yeah.
We have a system, but people mind maybe is more looking the future all the time. Yeah, but we are not even using these taxis very effectively, or the helicopters and so on.
Right.
But, yeah, the process is maybe the more important than the technology in many cases. Okay, we have time for the one question if you have any. We can do it later on also. Yes, please.
So Antti, did you have already permission for the Tampere city center trial? We can do.
We don't have yet. It is in the process, I guess, in Traficom.
Trying to get the permission.
Yeah. So certainly, that's for sure. Otherwise, we will not do it. But we have a process. We discussed with Traficom in June, and we got permission from Air Force already, but didn't get the complete permission.
And then you mentioned interesting thing that you are looking the face recognition for the older people.
Yeah.
But how about all these regulations in Finland that it's not very easy? I think so.
That's part of it. I mean, if you are in a hospital, then is that a public area or not? Then okay, if you are at home, okay. Then if the person has given permission, that okay. But yeah, that's part of the project.
Yeah. I think that the safety is also the barrier for the development. That the good things are not there. Okay, thank you very much. And next presentation is Mr. Nirvaiser, please. And I understand that you will show us the little bit civilian versions of the products, or what is your topic?
Actually, this is tomorrow.
It's tomorrow, okay.
Yes.
Then you can explain, because in my papers you only have not topic yet, actually. Eikö näyttäisi? Okay, sorry about that. I saw it very well.
Yes.
Good. Okay, now we are here. Okay, Mr. Nirvaiser, and please you can explain what you are going to present.
All right.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming. Today I will focus about cybersecurity with our system and how aeronautics is dealing with these risks. But before we'll dip into the solution or how we are handling this risk, let's first of all see what it is. I give here a small demonstration. Unfortunately, they couldn't remove the subtitles in Hebrew, so excuse me for that, but I think it's give you a good feeling about what is cyber risk, especially from where we are dealing with. Sorry. Wait. Can you hear? No. Just a second, please. It doesn't. Okay, never mind. It's okay.
Just put it in the
Yeah, Maxim will go. Okay. No videos, no okay, no audio. Anyway, so what you see, it's a chapter from 24, if you recall this series. So what you see here is a drone operator escorting a convoy, American convoy, getting into some gathering points, and he's securing the premises. Mission completed, and he's continued to the next mission, taking the UAV in a right bank. And now, as you can see, the UAV is returning, and he has lost control over the UAV, the drone. What happening? Oh no. And can be very unpleasant situation. He's calling the troops on the ground. You have to evacuate, you have to get clear. What are you talking about? Someone is getting control over the drone. He fired a missile. It's a Hellfire, and get covered. And this is the kinds of threats we're dealing with. So how do we allow secured missions? So in a sentence, aeronautics group is a drones producer. We have a vast experience. We were established in 1997. We have customers worldwide operating our system. We have hundreds of thousands of operational experience with our platforms. And so far, I'm happy to say that no security or cyber breach was taking place. We have subsidiaries, companies. In a sentence, Controops, as you can see, we're manufacturing payloads, we have communications, we have engines, and we ourselves manufacturing the platforms itself. And this gives us the ability to have a one-stop shop. And in related to the cyber issues, we put into our mind through all the process, from the idea, engineering design, through the production and operation of the systems. Through all the process, it's in our mind, and we designed and built our systems in that manner. So what does it mean to prevent a cyber attack? How do we implement it? So as I said, this is our core, one of our core aspects of the designs, and it's an insulated area, okay? So no one can get into our systems, no one has access. We have in our facilities a closed net, so all of our computers are insulated from the outside world. No worms, no attacks, no hackers can penetrate into our system and design stuff. And of course, as I mentioned, by ruggedized computers and antivirus, we insulated also the ground control stations that we provide the system with. So again, there is no way that someone can penetrate into our system from the outside world. Okay? There are some points that we're not manufacturing by ourselves, the PCB, the printed circle boards. But with those components, we have fully control over the process. We are dividing our suppliers, and we are controlling the process, and we are performing ourselves our QC through the process and verifying that it's all secured. So also in this, let's say, I don't know, weak point, but bottleneck in our production, we're taking care that all of our suppliers are have the clearance, the Israeli clearance, and everything required to ensure that our system will be safe. Yeah. So, communications. When we're talking about the communication, it's now we're in the area between the ground and the platform itself. There's a lot of data going uplink and downlink in order to control the UAV and to receive feedbacks from the UAV. First about the platform itself, second from the payloads, all the data that it's gathered. Now this area needs to be secured as well. And how do we do that? As I explained before, Comtact is a communication company owned by Aeronautics, and they are supplying, of course, their communication, which is military standards. We're working with variety of frequencies. We have designated antennas, so it's not, I don't know if you're familiar with the Omni antenna, which is sending the information all around us, but it's directional antenna. So only you need to be between the drone and the ground station itself in order even to receive the data. Okay, you cannot stand on the sides and look at the drone and expect to receive the information, for example. Of course, we are encryptonating the information, digital the data, so it's getting harder for hackers to get the data. Low probability of detections. We're using the spread spectrum elements, which is, if you're looking at the spectrum of frequencies, you see different types. Okay, even now around us there is frequency all over. Cellular network, Wi-Fi communication, VFR from the airport, everything is in the spectrum, in that spectrum. Now when we're transmitting the uplink or transmitting the downlink from the UAV, we are leveling the frequency hopping. So it will be as flat as possible, so it will be even harder to identify those frequencies within the spectrum of all RF signals. I think, yeah, okay, here I have it. So this is the spread spectrum. Different RF waveform, variety of RF footprint ID. We're not using only one frequency. We have a vast frequencies that we can use. Of course, it's aligned with the customer's ability to supply different frequency. It's not our frequency to all, but has to be regulated with traffic control or FAA or the equivalent of that here in Finland in that aspect. And one of our biggest things is that we have the ability to hop between 250 different frequencies in 1 second. So it's, even if you get a freak of a second of communication, immediately it's hop. And this is one of our algorithms that in order to have the algorithm, you have to get into the engineering designs computer, and as I said before, it is in closed environments. So even that, it is unbreachable. Yeah. GPS jamming, it was mentioned in the previous session here. How do we deal with it? So first of all of our systems are capable of flying in GPS jamming environment. We have the ability to calculate the location of the drone based on the communication channels. Okay, the GCS or the ground control station is stationary. We know the location of it. We have an azimuth between the communication device, the ground communication device to the UAV, and we have the distance. Okay, we have one uplink, one downlink. We know the timing difference, so we can calculate the speed is constant, so we can calculate the distance. So based on azimuth and distance, we know the location of the UAV. so we can continue to operate missions during GPS jamming areas. Also Kalman filter, I believe that my colleague here will be able to elaborate much more than I am about how we use it, but it's being statistic deviations taking into control in order to get a better results regarding to the location of the UAV. Also the operators have the ability to switch between GPS flying and data link range. Okay, so even if there is some kinds of hesitation regarding the location of the UAV, you have manually the ability to swap between GPS and data link, which is a powerful tool, and of course taking off without a GPS. Any questions or something that
Thank you very much.
thank you.
I have one question about you that do you see that in the future the systems goes more to closed systems because of the security issues, especially when the drones are part of the critical infrastructure? And the other question is that what is your opinion about the best possible view for the human risk? Because we can do all the best things in the technology, but we still have a human risk.
I will start with the human risk. First of all, I can tell you that, at least I can say for sure in aeronautics, and I know also the other platform in Israel, they are all fully autonomous platform, and this is where we're heading. So we're minimizing the human factor risk. Also in manned platform, even in Boeing or Airbus or whatever, the pilots who are sitting in the cockpit, they're mainly monitoring the computers. And even technology today can take off and land fully autonomously. So we're minimizing the human factor from the system. We're focusing on the mission. This is the most important things about the drones. Regarding to cybersecurity, of course, that eventually information is something that it's crucial and valid, and there are entities who would like to take advantage of this information. So I believe that this aspect has to take into considerations also for the civil activities, that it's coming faster and faster around the corner.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. Any questions?
Yes, please.
Yeah, one question. This is very interesting. Thank you for the presentation, and I can see that this is very secure what you are working on. But how scalable is it if you, for example, want to say you want to have 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million drones up in the air by this communication system? Is it how scalable? I mean, I know you don't want to give price information, but what's your thought about how scalable this could be? Let's say for a pizza delivery or a blood organ delivery.
I think that technologically it's already there.
Yes.
I think what is mainly stopping the progress is regulation and how to implement those kinds of solutions within the civil activities. And of course, there is always the risk that a drone might have a malfunction and it will crash into someone who's standing in the streets or kindergarten, God forbid. So it's a risk, and we need, but also cars can be risky and it will solve. So it's only a matter about, I think it's a matter of time with the regulations how we will handle this technology. But the direction is towards unmanned platform that will replace a lot of manned platform, which also.
Yeah, but if you look background, I come from the telecom industry with the mobile network.
Okay.
So where we have a lot of these things quite cheaply out in that. So I was really interested on how to make the communication in you showed, which was very secure.
Yes.
How to make it scalable to be available for more players. So I would assume this is quite not the cheapest possible
Yeah, but as technology evolves, it's getting cheaper and cheaper. I mean, in any graph that you think about technology versus price, you see it's like the price is getting low, technology is getting better, and then there is a boom of some innovative ideas. It's scalable, definitely. Yesterday, one of the colleagues talked about the mesh network, so it's there. So scalable for sure.
Okay, thank you, Neil. And tomorrow you will speak about the
civilian applications of drones. Yes.
You can really think about during the night that what could be a nice idea. Okay, the next presentation then comes from with Jyrka Hannola from Traficom, and we heard a lot of interesting legislation and legal issues and the future, how you can see that what we are going to do. Is this right?
Pretty much.
Okay, and then kun saat kuvasin, niin panta kakkosta vaan. Okay, stage is yours, please.
Thank you.
Try to speak to microphone that they also get it in the...
I'll do my best. Okay. First of all, I feel very humble to be here talking to all of you after all this fantastic presentation. And during yesterday, I received many messages from this event about the wonderful content you had in previous presentations. So that caused some last-minute changes to my own presentations, because I didn't want to too much provide you overlapping information, since all the presentations have been very high quality. We try to keep it that way. Jonas, Tommy, and Elina Immonen from Ministry of Transport and Communications told you a lot about regulation and legislation in general already. You have heard a lot about Gov use space, so I was planning to take a little bit more generic approach. And definitely I don't want to get you bored with a lecture article by article regarding the new EU regulation. So I'm going to focus more on enabling attitude of a CAA, how we approach things, and about the mindset, about new aviation culture, and eventually how we can release the full potential of urban air mobility. First of all, the mindset. I love this picture, and it's been in my presentation for a couple of years already, even more. When we look at the media, quite often drones seem like the only drone people know is DJI Phantom. And as we know, that is not the case. There is a whole spectrum of different types of drones for different purposes. And it's amazing how people picture it as a DJI Phantom, even that it's not in stores anymore. But where are we heading? Is this where we're heading? This was at Helsinki Vantaa Airport a couple of weeks ago. Maybe this is not where we're heading. Maybe we have to remove the pilot. It's two-seater. We have to get rid of one pilot to get two person on board. But it leads us to the discussions about reliability, for example, command and control links. Then we end up to cyber. But there are a lot of other issues to handle: traditional air navigation services, certification, integration to airspace, public acceptance, all the traditional manned aviation elements, and much more. It will be very interesting to see when this will be in operative use. Just check the latest Gartner hype curve. It was predicted to be on a plateau within 10 years, but we'll see how it goes. But let's come back to back to this day for a little while. I always like to give up a short overview about Finnish landscape at the moment. So, so far we register only commercial drone operators. At the moment, 2,765 commercial drone operators, and as you can see, there are only less than 3,500 drones in commercial use, which means that we have quite small number of operators like Wing, for example, operating with a massive fleet of drones. So all the companies are relatively small at this stage. Also, the weight average, 3.3 kilograms, tells you something about the structure of the market. So it's quite a lot of small drones if your average is 3.3. During next summer we will know much more about the recreational side of drones in Finland because upcoming new EU regulation, according to it, it's mandatory for also recreational users to register. And that will be something between 50,000 and 100,000 users. And what are the Finnish operators actually doing with the drones? This graph is very interesting. It has remained unchanged basically from the very beginning of our drone registration system since 2015. And when serious urban air mobility comes along, there are probably we are going to see some movements in this graph. Personally, I'm expecting logistics to grow. And then another thing, what I was predicting, that maybe we should add completely new class here, which would be drones as a service. Yeah, once again, one of the as a service type of things. Because there will be multiple use drones, maybe spread around the city, doing on-demand ad hoc missions. That might be completely new type of operator class in these statistics. Well, is this something we would like to see in the future? That is winged drone in May 2019, bringing my lunchbox. That is a quite impressive project that is going on in Vuosaari region in Helsinki. So far, we have to enable this kind of operations by creating danger areas, temporary danger areas. But in the future, we're developing more sophisticated solutions, such as U-Space. I'm always wondering what will be the pace of this change. I just recently saw 2 pictures from New York 5th Avenue. The first was taken in 1903. There was 1 car in 5th Avenue, and the rest were horses. And in 1913, after 10 years, there were no horses, only cars. Once again, according to Gartner's hype cycle, this will reach the plateau between 5 and 10 years from now. I'm really curious to see what will happen with that. And I would really like to hear your views also. For example, during the coffee break, what do you think about the timescale here? Then something about the regulatory background. Aviation standards, as you all probably know, are global, starting from ICAO, standards and recommended practices. In EU level, most of our regulations come from EU, maybe 98% or something like that. So there's quite a little flexibility in a member state level. But this is a collision of cultures. That's how I love to describe it. Because we have ICAO. ICAO has secured manned aviation since 1940s. I guess there's 192 member states right now. So things really take time. It might take 10 years to get new standard and recommended practices out of ICAO. That might take 10 years, for example. So it's not an easy task. But that's a culture. We've been doing this since 1940s, and there's quite a lot of wisdom included in those papers. So we have to be careful what we change and how fast. In EASA, in traditional development of regulation, it might take 4 years to get regulation out from that system. And all this collides. Our way of doing regulations collides with a Silicon Valley type of startup culture where 3 months is a long period. And there we have a challenge. I don't know how many of you know the organization called JARUS, which is there on the top right corner. We really hope that JARUS will help this pain a little bit, and it has done so already. That's a very interesting organization. Since the end of March, I have a great honor, I must say, to be chairman of this organization. We have 61 member states across the globe, and as you can see, I would say all the major players in drone sector are there. 61 member states, more than 200 experts around the globe. We have also SCB involved, stakeholder consultation body, which includes all industry representatives, major companies involved there, like, for example, Airbus. We don't write any binding regulations, but we try to ease this pain by creating global recommendations that all CAAs, civil aviation authorities, and other organizations around the world can take and fine-tune for their own purposes. And those of you who don't know some of our best success stories coming out from JARUS community, first of all, categorization in EU level regulation, open, specific and certified, invented in JARUS. It was called categories A, B, C, but open, specific and certified is much more fancy way to say it. A, B, C was meant to be very generic. Also, one of our success stories is SORA, Special Operations Risk Assessment. That is also JARUS product coming out from our working group 6. It has been very successful throughout the world. So this is the way how our working groups, 6 working groups altogether, 7, are trying to ease this pain, trying to speed up the process. And from that perspective, it is very important for us to have all the key players and definitely to have industry on board. So that was it about the JARUS. But then we have another collision of cultures, maybe. Safety and security. Urban air mobility quite obviously happens in urban environment. And now throughout the world, authorities are trying to find the balance between enabling all these wonderful things and safety and security aspects. We see that in European level regulation, there are many articles that are there not in a traditional way because of aviation safety, but because of security. UTM, or U-Space, as we like to call it in Europe, might help at this stage. It helps to identify drones. It helps to, perhaps it helps to control noise emissions. We can create the zones, different kind of zones, no-fly zones. And I think this topic was already pretty much highlighted, for example, in Antti's presentation. Well done. Our role as enabling and modern CAA. Being relatively small actually helps at this stage. We can be agile. We can get all state-level players sitting around one table with a short notice. And also, I find it very beneficial that we have communications regulatory authority now within the same organization as aviation safety organization. I guess it's very clear after these 2 days that in the future and in drone world, connectivity, mobile networks and drones are very hard to separate. I think that will be very obvious after these days. Also, we were involved in Golf U-Space demonstration that Jonas talked to you about yesterday. I think from our perspective, our 5G momentum project brought quite good added value to that project, and we learned a lot also from that. What do we need in the future? There are some of the highlights. 5G is obvious one that brings in more and more cyber dimensions into this whole discussion. It's about connectivity and interoperability, situational awareness, etc. Also, airspace integration in generally. We need to know air and ground risk in order to do proper operations risk assessments. Noise, that will be a big issue in the future. There are a couple of drones flying around in Helsinki, and we still get some angry mails from citizens regarding noise emissions. And also icing will be one of our research needs in the future. If we want to have real urban air mobility in Finland, we need to be able to operate around the year. Two things I want to highlight from these slides. One thing is UTM service providers' interoperability. For me, that is one of the key elements, because we need to have good competition in UTM market. The price of operation in urban air mobility from UTM perspective can be very high, because otherwise it will be very difficult for drone operators to do proper business. So we want to have a competition between UTM service providers. Another interesting topic is ongoing discussion in many forums is that integration 500 feet or less or more than 500 feet. If cars came into New York in 10 years, if we have now drones flying below 500 feet, I'm pretty sure that in 10 years they will need more space. And from that perspective, I always recommend to look for options that enable integration also in higher altitudes. This is something that will bring us some flexibility in EU level. We have an article that allows member states to create zones. They can be no-fly zones. Unfortunately, we don't. I hope that we won't need too many of those. But they can be also enabling zones where we remove some of the requirements. And in the first stage, before we have actual UTM systems in place, I hope that this article might be something that we can use to enable operations and enable testing in Finland. At the same time, we as authority have a difficult task. We have to enable newcomers, their operations, and at the same time we have to maintain people's trust to aviation system as a whole, as we now have very high safety level. That is a challenge. One last thing I want to leave to you. Urban air mobility, that will be clearly Internet of Flying Things. It will be all connected. It will need integration, not only to aviation, but to entire society and infrastructure. We should start thinking already landing areas, cargo terminals, recharging stations, all the things that eventually will enable urban air mobility. This picture from Global UTM Association is just a simplification of this magnificent system we are creating. Jonas already showed you this picture yesterday. That's still simplification. There's a lot of stuff inside each of the box. So that is where we need a lot of research, a lot of regulations to ensure interoperability. We don't want to create fragmented systems. And if we get back to the cars, that took 10 years. And during the coffee break, I would be interested to hear your views, how long this will take. Thank you.
Thank you, very interesting presentation. I have one question for you that how do you see that this is very complex what you show, but when we are talking about all unmanned vehicles, all the cars, swimming, picking, all kind of different drones what we can see in the future. Can we handle this complexity in the future?
That's a good question, and I would say that in generally all this, it needs some kind of change in our mindsets. And it, for some reason, it somehow always ends up to liability issues. There might be self-driving car that can remove 80% of man-made mistakes, but we are not capable to accept that 20% of accidents, for example, because there is nobody driving it. It's computer. So I think this is a cultural change. It's not just in aviation. It's not just in cars. It's general change of attitude towards this kind of new technology, and that will take time. How long? We don't know. But when we think of the first days of the cars, when a car was driving on the street, there was a man running in front of it, waving a red flag that car is coming. We have come quite a long way from that.
Yes, yes. And, technology is still easy, but human change takes time. Okay, any questions, please?
Question that how different is now the UAV standardization in Europe compared to USA?
Asia. Now there has been a lot of things happening in Europe that how much different approach
Is now in different continents. The manufacturer want to make a product. It can be sold also in the US and Asia. How big
are current differences? What is your understanding?
Well, there are differences. Luckily, all key players in this area, USA, China, Israel, all the major players in drone industry, luckily they are all involved in JARUS activities and ICAO activities. So from that perspective, we definitely will get some synergies and harmonization of the system. But unfortunately, there are differences. And for example, those CE marking standards that came with the just published EU regulation, they don't fit to US market, for example. Hard to say what would be a good example. We'll have to get back to that.
Okay, I said you. We have to go forward, but Jonas, if you have a short question.
Yes, from the Elina Immonen from the ministry escaped before we had the questions and answers session, and one of the things she highlighted was the national mandate to regulate on insurance under 20 kilogram. And today, professionals need to insurance, hobbyists don't. Is there anything that can be said on the preparation for next summer in Finland?
Oh, difficult topic. Should I have left earlier? Well, the thing is that the current situation comes from the definitions. In current legislation, professional UAVs are aircraft,
Yes.
and there is insurance regulation for aircraft, not for drones that are used for recreational purposes. So that is the current situation. In future, EU insurance regulation will work only with drones more than 20 kilograms. That's the limit. If you have a heavier drone than 20 kilograms, you need insurance. But what comes below that, that is work in progress, so to say. That is something that must be in legislation level, so I think I'm not the right person to comment on that. But we'll see how it goes. I know that many countries throughout Europe are considering to put in place some kind of insurance requirements, yes.
Great. Okay, we continue this discussion later on. We have to go forward. And now we have a very interesting and actual topic from Heidi Heinonen. Welcome, Heidi. It's a very important issue to talk about carbon neutral drones, but the carbon neutral world is for our children very important, and I appreciate that you are talking about this.
Thank you.
Do you have slides?
Yes, I do have.
Yes, Kirsi? It's no, it's only the first slide here. Ehkä sun pitää tulla katsoa sitä, koska se ei lähde siitä.
This is only one slide.
That's only one slide. Ei ollut perässä. Nyt varmaan päästä taas sinne. Okay, but you can continue to speak something that
Okay.
we are waiting.
Okay, so while Kirsi is checking my slides, so my name is Heidi Heinonen. I come from Forum Virium, and I'm really honored to be here among all you drone professionals. And I would like to thank you, Cyberwatch Finland, also for the invitation. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, 6 months ago, I saw the first drone flight of my life. That was the first time I heard the term BVLOS and had to Google what it is. We went to K-Market in Kartanonkoski in Vantaa to see a flight there. It was part of a pilot that was run by Aviapolis Traffic Lab. And today I know more much more about those acronyms we and you are using, and I'm happy of that. My background is in a creative field and more recently in CSR. That might be a new acronym for you. CSR, it means corporate social responsibility. So I see the world through lenses of corporate social responsibility, which means not only it's called like a triple bottom line. So it's not only the financial part, but also the social and environmental part. And that's also one of the reasons I'm project manager in this project called Carbon Neutral Drone Solutions in Southern Finland. So I come from Forum Virium, and Forum Virium, some of you might know already, it's the innovation company of the city of Helsinki. And our aim is to build Helsinki the most functional smart city of the world. We do this with you, with companies, with academia, with residents, and also with the city of Helsinki. So I work in smart mobility and well-being team, and it was with my team that we were in that Kartanokoski last spring. Besides smart mobility, Forum Virium is operating with robotics, artificial intelligence, data, and IoT. We have 3 different themes. One of them is Smart Kalasatama, and then it's IoT, and then our smart mobility team. We have 50 top experts working all together in 41 different projects. The projects are funded by EU different mechanisms, and also with the city of Helsinki. And our annual budget is more or less 7 million euros. All those projects we are running, those 41, the size is like 22,000 euros altogether. In smart mobility team, we have 10 ongoing smart mobility projects, and 3 of them are related to automated shared mobility, and 3 are related to drones. And I'm using this term drones because the name of our project, Carbon Neutral Drone Solutions in Finland, is the official name, and we have to keep it until the end of the project. Big cities or mayors of big cities have understood that the role of the city has changed. The cities are not anymore only authorities, but they are also enablers. Enablers that can provide to different actors different possibilities in order to improve the city. It can be in mobility, energy, housing, etc. And the cities can provide resources, and those resources can be financial, but they can be also like testing grounds, or the cities can also act like matchmakers for companies. They can be more flexible with companies so that they can have easier permissions for their pilots. And that is exactly what we are doing in Forum Virium Helsinki. We are trying to help companies to do pilots and offer these test beds for the companies. So that's how we try to make Helsinki the most functional smart city of the world. One of our main drivers is the Helsinki city strategy, and this is just one quote which is from the smart mobility part. So Helsinki is a pioneer in overall functional smart traffic systems, and it encourages a transitions into demand-driven traffic system, and it serves also as a testing platform in the commercialization of new smart mobility solutions enabled by current transport legislation and the promotion of tomorrow's technologies, so also the drones. Then we have another driver, which is the carbon neutral Helsinki 2035 action plan. As you might know, transport is major single contributor to CO2 emissions. It means 1/5 of emissions come from traffic. So that's where drones and like robot buses might give an answer that Antti was asking earlier. In those, in our smart mobility projects, I mentioned you that we have 3 related drone projects. It was already mentioned that there's this city logistic project. And then we have these new carbon neutral drone services solutions in southern Finland, and also LMAD, which is the last mile autonomous delivery. This last one, it's an EIT digital project, and therefore the partners are already there, so I'm not going to talk more about that. Neither about these new solutions in city logistics. Just to mention that my colleague Asi Rautanen is a project manager in this project from our side, so if you're more interested, you can always contact her. It's, as the name tells, it's more about last mile solutions. And let's jump then to the carbon neutral drone solutions in southern Finland. Unfortunately, I was not here yesterday to hear all the presentation. I've heard a lot of them. I was in a training with my colleagues, and the training was offered by ERDF, so European Regional Development Fund, and it was mandatory for us to be there so that we know what we are doing and how we are doing. So this project started 1 month ago, and it will go on until the end of 2021. It is funded, as said, by European Regional Development Fund, and our project partners are East Southern University of Applied Sciences and Posintra, which is the East Uusimaa Development Company. And our project managers are here. I would like them to raise their hands. Minna-Jukka and Kristiina Sani. And also we have Tomi Oravasaari, who was one of the, could I say, fathers of this project, as he was preparing the application. We are a part of a larger project family, and there are currently other projects going on in northern part of Finland. So 2 carbon neutral drone projects in northern Ostrobothnia. Those are run by Oulu University of Applied Sciences. I'm not sure if there are any representatives here. You're from VTT, and yeah, I think Mannohan is not here today. Yeah. Okay, so the partners are Oulu University and VTT, so the Finnish Research Institute. And then there's another project, it's carbon neutral drone project in Lapland with Finnish Meteorological Institute, and it's in cooperation with Sodankylä Geophysical Observatorium. And let's go back to southern Finland. So our aim in this project is to pilot carbon neutral and emission-free drone services. And the reason for this is to replace combustion engine mobility and transport. So we want to develop new innovative drone solutions and support new business forms. And this is for extend drone services for new applications. So we really would like to see new use cases in these projects. And we are looking solutions for transport and logistics, also first or last mile solutions, and we are planning to have long distance flights, and actually we are going to have pilots, but I'll talk about that later. Then we are looking for solutions for remote environmental monitoring. That could be air quality, oil spills in the sea, or any other use cases. Then remote surveillance, like surveillance of warehouses or other buildings, or any other use cases. And how are we going to do this? Well, with you. So we aim to cooperate with you, and also our aim is to find new potential customers, so wake up companies that could use these services. And we are going to organize workshops, 5 in Helsinki, 3 in Kotka or Kouvola, and 2 in Porvoo. And we are also doing HL drone service pilots, and we should have 2,000 flights here in Helsinki and Porvoo region, and these pilots we are going to buy from drone service providers. Then we are going to organize 2 seminars which are open for all drone actors and stakeholders, and these 2 seminars we are going to organize them with the project family, so with northern Finland projects. Our long-term goals are, so as I mentioned already, new business models, and also proven CO2 and small particle reductions. We want to have energy savings, and maybe we will have also new research and development possibilities. We want to get more knowledge about resource-wise operating models, and therefore we also need to understand the impact of a larger use of batteries. And we are going to disseminate the results, so this is not top secret, but our purpose is also to make new information which is available for everybody. So So related to those CO2 emissions, we will, based to the experience we gather on these pilots, we will do an estimation of the reductions and of the CO2 emissions and future scenario calculation, so that we know better at the end of the pilot how can we reduce those CO2 emissions. As mentioned, I see the world with these classes of CSR, and also from the point of view of a smart city perspective. It was mentioned that the legislation and regulation is a big part of the business, and therefore we also need to think, so if we want to reduce emissions, we can not do it at the cost of the rest of environment. We have to take into considerations also the long-term impact of the batteries, and also think about the different models of drones, which are the best ones from this perspective. And yeah, from the perspective of city planning, we have to think also about the aerodrones, and we have to see many years forward. So it's not easy tasks, But if we want to do city planning, we need to kind of imagine what the future will be. And this, I hope, we will do all together. So if you're interested to join us somehow in this project, please contact me or come and talk to me while we are having the coffee break, if we are having a coffee break. And yeah, and or otherwise just call me or send me an email. And this is our smart mobility team. One is missing almost because I had to reduce a little bit the size of the photo. So I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. It was quite interesting and nice to see that you are working together with the industry. Do you have any questions?
Can I have one?
Yes, please.
When we are talking about smart mobility and what smart cities in general, we are all the time we are talking about drones are flying. If we are thinking drones as in the wide perspective, we are coming to swimming or diving or climbing drones. Is this is this so far away from today, or is it easier to start with flying drones because we already have used some kind of use those for the hobby, and little by little we are going to have the like a lot of pictures help or rescue help or something like that. What do you think? Sirs.
If I can answer first, I think you just gave us a hint for a new project. Mm.
We have a project already in Tampere where we try to integrate flying drone and then a surface boat and then submarine together. So we have tested it already 2 years there on Lake Pyhäjärvi.
Oh yeah.
So it's still not working, but drone can fly and maybe it finally can cooperate with the boat and so on. But yes,
Yeah, and actually, I think Tommy can answer also.
One point about these submarines. The problem with submarines is that how to navigate them. Basically, I know that the border guard, they use the kind of sonar navigation. They have like audio signals how they locate the drones. If we are talking about smart mobility and you cannot navigate, then it's difficult. I think it's challenging to integrate the submarines into smart mobility.
And the security side is very interesting too, because the development at the moment, they have a first military operating boats, warboats, completely unmanned. It's coming more and more into commercial business boats which are doing themselves. If you add to the drones and all other risks there, that will be very interesting world in the future. But because the technology is always developing faster than we think, that's one sure, and the regulation is not very good in these solutions.
Just a quick comment on the smart urban mobility. That we are looking into solutions, or we already know that there exist a lot of solutions where the last mile will not be, or the last 200 meters will not be delivered by a drone, flying one. It will be delivered by, so the drones will not be point to point in most cases, the flying ones, because maybe the hard starters needs to come close to you. But otherwise there will be, like we saw in Hedenranta, there will be flight paths, landing paths, and so on. Somebody needs to take the cargo from the landing spot and deliver it to the door, and that probably, or at least we are looking into solutions in Stockholm City where we're going to take the electrical ground vehicles to take care of that. We've seen some demos, and I think in Korea they're using quite a lot of them, even without any drones flying ones involved. They're using it on the ground. So there are solutions definitely that the urban smart mobility is not only about flying stuff, it's also about the whole ecosystem.
And in that smart city logistic project, they are like testing also those possibilities.
Well, we can share.
This carbon emission issue is very funny. If you look to the single day in China, they have this special day for the internet shopping, and in 1 minute the sales is 2.3 billion, and 24 hours is $30 billion, and 80% of the deliveries needs normal logistics, and only 20% is the e-commerce business. That it's still very much normal business, even if it's made in the US. We need help of the lot of the drones or any kind of vehicles to get the things from A to B point. Still, for example, the manufacturing.
Another quick point, like in Kista in Sweden, we're driving autonomously, completely autonomous bus. I mean, they're three times, normal small bus. And we get no problem to get permission to drive that one. But we can't get permission to drive something that is weighing 1 kilo very easily. So,
yeah.
You know,
And also you have to always remember that whatever we do in the digital world, it needs a lot of human resources. Like another example of China was that the NetEasy, which is a big education company in the programming, they had the one course for the Saturday, they had the 17,000 people working this weekend, and they have 30 million students at the same time programming. That means that there's also in the real life effect whatever we are doing in the e-learning or drones or whatever, that we still have some jobs to do. Okay, one question: do you have a small break or we continue? Coffee. We have a.
Do we have coffee?
Do we have a coffee?
Just a moment.
Check. Okay. But maybe we take the Stephen before we get that one that we don't. You can stand a while. Stephen can speak. Do you have your own presentation? Okay.
No more coffee, but the bubbles are waiting for us, so still.
Okay, it's
I'll be as quick
Stephen,
as I possibly
so
can.
let us
Do you want me to put
it's here.
yeah. Okay.
Okay. No. See you here. Okay. Stephen is now his operation manager at fleetomni.ai. I can get you in the screen, but maybe we can get your own presentation here. Okay. Good. Sorry about that.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Pertti. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for the invitation, Kirsi, and for the work you've done to organise this. It's been great. Yeah. So yeah, I'm Stephen Sutton, operations manager at fleetonomy.ai, and also the flyby guys as well, as you can see here, and also one of the members of the WUAVF as well. Yeah, so it's been a very interesting year, especially for Fleetonomy. I just recently joined there, but I've been pushed right into the deep end, and I've been involved in some very, very interesting projects. I couldn't attend yesterday, unfortunately, because I was in Tampere for the Forum Virium project that we're actually going on. We have an autonomous bus, which we were doing the remote operations here in Helsinki, and I do have some video, but I don't have anything edited at the moment, but I do have some on my phone, so if afterwards you want to see something, I can show you as well. But I'll have a video edited hopefully by next week for the DTT event in Finlandia Talo. So, yeah, so what I'm basically going to talk about very quickly, because I think we have to get out of here. You know, I'll just say a bit about what Fleetonomy is doing. We are doing remote operations, so we have a remote operations platform, and we are doing many projects to do with drones and also autonomous vehicles as well. So we have been involved in many projects recently. The Fabulous project with Forum Virium, Cesar, which I'm going to talk about, and as well as our Fortum Go. So we've been doing the project with Elvira. I don't know if you know Elvira, which is the car for Fortum Go, and I'll be getting the car after DTD next week, and I'll be having Elvira for 3 weeks, and you might see me driving, or not see me driving around, but you'll see me sitting in the car driving around Döre, I hope. So if you see the car, you can give me a wave. I'll have to pay attention when I'm in there, of course. So what we did last summer. With Fleetonomy, we were involved in the Golf U Space Cesar project, and I came in rather quite quickly at the deep end, as Jonas will probably, as Jonas is laughing there, he knows exactly what I'm talking about. I came right into the project, and it was interesting, but it was fascinating, and it was also very successful, I have to say. So I'll give the game away before the end there. It was very successful. We were involved in integrating our remote platform into a UTM, and we were integrating with AirMap. And AirMap is a UTM. I'm not quite sure where they're actually based, but they have European, and they're also based in America as well. They've actually just bought Hangar as well. I just noticed there. I was not involved in that, as you might have thought. Yeah. So we were involved in actually integrating. So we had to integrate our platform into the AirMap UTM, and this was quite challenging, but we managed it. And you know, we really see the need for a UTM, and you know, the end results of this were just so conclusive that a UTM is absolutely vital. Because the testing that was involved, what we had to do, or why we need a UTM, is basically for safety. It's more for the emergency services, for the authorities, that they can act quickly if you have drones in the air in a certain place at a certain time that shouldn't be there. We are seeing in the news recently that there are drone pilots, there are drone operators who are being fined for flying in areas that they shouldn't have been. Now, how do they know that? Well, there are some tools available, but not everyone is actually aware of those tools. Not everyone's aware where they should and actually should not be flying. We can buy these drones off the shelf, but there's no information there to say you should be checking this, you have to be checking that. Most of the drone applications that you have, especially with DJI, you see the no-fly zones, which are airports, which are prisons. So those are the places that you know you shouldn't be flying. But there are other no-fly zones that are implicated as well, and those that we don't get to see. And there are people who are flying there, for example, I think Finlandia Talo is a very, very good example where we see upwards of 10, maybe more, that have been fined. And these people don't have a clue. They actually don't know that they should be flying.
I think we saw some statistics. Until the end of August, 55 people
55?
flying in Finland have been fined for flying in restricted areas because they didn't know.
I think that's more fascinating than anything, because it would be nice to interview these people and to find out why they were flying there. And I'm just hedging a guess here, but I'm guessing that none of them had a clue about where they should or they should not be flying. Now, we have tools available. For example, we have things like AviaMaps, which is a fantastic platform. I don't know if you know AviaMaps. It's a great platform. I urge you to have a look at that if you don't know that. That gives you up-to-date information of where you should not be flying. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, if you don't know, how would you check? So, you know, people who are actually flying, you know, can get into trouble. It would be really, really interesting to find out that. So this is a good example of AviaMaps, you know, where you can see that there are no-fly zones. And then we have the dynamic no-fly zones that are, dynamic no-fly zones that can appear, for example, over Finlandia Talo and over Töölönlahti as well. So those cover pretty much most of Töölö as well. So you can see where they should not be flying. Now you can fly. If you get caught, then of course that's not good, and we shouldn't be flying. And I don't know if Marcos was giving a speech yesterday. No, was someone giving a speech yesterday on Avia Maps? No. It's a shame. It's a shame. It's a shame. Someone should be speaking about Avia Maps, because it's actually very, very important. Good. Well, I'm doing it again. I'm actually doing it again.
Because we have a professional audience now, and some of you are designing demonstrations, I think you should show the inactive areas from the menu. Do you know how to do that?
This is only a picture.
It's only a picture.
It's only a picture.
You're so offline.
I know I am so offline, and I'm getting looks here from Kiersey as well to say hurry up. But we can talk about this afterwards. We can talk.
It's interesting. We can see the areas that have been reserved but are not active. That can be quickly reserved by the police or private people. Check it on the rest.
And the point here as well, what I'm trying to say is that with a UTM, if we're integrating it with a UTM, all your information would be in that system. You would have the pilot's name, you would have the email address, you would have the e-identification, phone number, everything would be in there, so that the authorities can see you. They know how high you are, they know where you are, they know who you are.
Very quick, what is the UAV ID?
Well, you can. It's just like an identification, so it's like e-identification. I'm not quite sure how that would work, but I know there was IDs in there that were showing up.
Yeah, but I need to know exact details because we might do that, communicate with your mobile.
And of course, it's still within the the proof of concept stage anyway, so it hasn't been totally defined.
For now, we used an arbitrary call sign. It could be 6 characters or whatever. It's not.
Yeah, but it's defined. Characters, how many digits it is.
It will be.
It will be, yeah. So all that information is visible to the authorities, and here you can see the authorities in action right there. So this is what they are seeing. So when we are flying, they can look and they can see, and then they can act. And this is what happened in the actual demonstration. So we had 2 drones in the air. And the authorities implemented a dynamic no-fly zone. And when that dynamic no-fly zone was implemented, our drones came home. And they came home automatically. And that's how it should be. That is how it should be. So either you cannot take off, or if it is implemented, then they will come home. So what we were actually able to do, we were supposed to get into U-Space level 2, but we actually achieved level 3, which was actually how many years? 2 years, 3 years beyond? I think 3 years beyond or something. I can't remember. So yeah, so we had we had dynamic no-fly zones. The UAVs were visible to the authorities, and all UAVs had returned home immediately and also safely as well. And you can see what we happened. So you can see here that both of the drones had actually landed where they had taken off. So this was a historic moment really for the UAV industry. It really was, and it proves that it can work, and that's why we need to have a UTM system. Whether it's unified, whether we have one, I would much prefer it to be one, because then it would be industry standard. But we know that it actually works. Any questions? Sorry? I can. Well, but my next question is, who's going to pay for this? Who's going to pay for it? I mean, we see it's important. We know that it's going to. We know that it works. We just have to have an industry standard model. Who's going to pay for it? That's the question here. Yeah. And I think that when you look at the amount of people who are having fines, to try to distribute that and say, okay, if you pay, a yearly subscription of €5 or whatever, I don't know, that would cover it. It just means that everyone would be under the same umbrella because we have an airspace.
I think it's not as simple as that.
Yeah.
We can have a discussion about it. I'd love to hear your views on it. There's one claim that if use space is only about safety, we will not have a competitive market. We will have a monopoly who is serving everybody with safety information.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think there's
it's a big discussion. Yeah,
but on
you're
the
right.
other hand, Airmap bought Hangar to create value add for operators.
Mm.
That's not about safety, that's about efficiency.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
is that also UTM?
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly.
The
Yeah.
debate is on.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to have your input.
Yeah. I received messages from people in Hangar afterwards about this, and you know they had known for some time, but they couldn't say anything. So you know, so yeah, yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We can have a short break. We use the toilet, and I don't know if you will have a bubbles.
I suppose we have.
And let's say 10 minutes, and there are two very interesting lectures, Staying Aware and the Mobility in Digital World by Markku Ranne, and then also the Helsinki Drone Tournament foundings are shown that what was there. And, let's take the 10 minutes break and then we continue.
Yeah, we can take the bubbles if they really
Nothing happens? Okay, please sit down that we can continue. Sorry. No, istukaa niin aloitetaan nyt päästään. Oliko siellä muita vielä? Okei. Ja mä katsoin, että ne oli jo. Jukka, tuutitte kuuntelemaan tämän Business Finlandin esityksen työkaluista. Okei, katso sit netistä. Joo, asia selvä. Okay, now we are all in. Okay, Markus Ranne, welcome. And you are going to discuss about Business Finland tools. Okay? Stage is yours.
Thank you. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Markus Ranne, and I'm the program manager for the New Space Economy. It's not on? No? Testing, no. Okay. Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Okay, open this one.
Better with that one. Hello. Yep.
1. Okay.
So again, as said, my name is Markus Ranne, and I'm the program manager for the New Space Economy program. I have been here with you, unfortunately not for the full time, but these two afternoons, and I have to say that this has only enforced my understanding how difficult it is really to separate things in the digital world nowadays, to discuss just drones or just satellites or just AI, because everything is so much linked, and it seems to be, for some, just speaking now, for some reason I thought that this is just being maybe a problem of me and my colleagues to make this up, but it seems to be a wider problem, and it makes, of course, things difficult, but it also makes things very interesting. My presentation is called Staying Aware and Mobile in Digital World. So that already tells partly the problem. So there's a split between awareness and mobility here. And these have to be combined in order to make things work. So we have we have a need to do many things simultaneously, which are enabled by the modern digitalization. Before going into our solution to that, I'll just give you a brief description of Business Finland. So our aim or our goal is to have Finland defining the future. So we want also in the digital arena have Finland and especially Finnish companies defining the way how world is made a better place to live and how it develops in a way that it is sustainable. And this we want to do by supporting the companies and research organization with our services. I focus now for the company service on the company services. So what Business Finland offers to companies is first of all funding. So we provide innovation funding to smart solutions and ecosystems. We are not a procurement agency, so we don't buy anything, but we can share the risk of development. So when we do a project, we always expect that the company bears some risk, but we are willing to take part of the risk ourselves so that it is not too much to bear for the company. We offer networks, so we facilitate the creation of ecosystems and business networks, not only nationally, but also internationally. We have our 40 offices abroad, which help us to expand the reach of Business Finland and the companies working with us. The same office network helps us to identify opportunities globally, and by using the networks and the opportunities, we can then develop opportunities which the companies can reach for together with us, with our support. So what I mentioned earlier or in the beginning was the difficulty of separating things. Here you see the program portfolio of digitalization theme programs in Business Finland. So we have my program, the New Space Economy, Digital Trust, Smart Mobility, Connected Intelligence, and Artificial Intelligence Business. Altogether, these have a funding portfolio of 500 million euros over 5 years, coming to a total of 1 billion euros in budget if we combine the government and company funding. Now the blue colors here, they indicate the colors which I had in mind when I was preparing this presentation. So indeed, for New Space Economy, the drones are about situational awareness. So our interest in the program is for drones' role to being combined to satellites and data management systems in order to provide a complete situational awareness picture, be it then for defense or for civilian purposes. So that's one area. Then we have smart mobility area, which is run by my colleague Ulla Lainio. There the approach to drone is a bit different. So then we are looking into logistics and also looking into transportation of people, maintenance activities within smart cities, and so on. But indeed, unintentionally, I left out the connected intelligence and AI business, and now after these 2 days, I feel that I should have marked them all blue because we have touched all those subjects while we have been here. So indeed, it is very difficult to separate the things from each other. And the only way for us to tackle this is that we in the programs, we work together on this. So today I'm representing all the programs visible here, but also when we serve companies, we try to share the services as well as we can. Okay, we have had excellent presentation on building smart cities already today, so I feel that I have very little to contribute to that at this point, but just to, again, from this picture, all the things I mentioned on the previous picture are visible also here. So it is very difficult to separate from a smart city specific areas because everything is interconnected. The satellites, the drones, autonomous vehicles, and all the systems combining them and providing cybersecurity and intelligence to the complete system. So maybe this is just more a summary of the previous presentations today. A bit deeper view on the funding services, which I mentioned. So this is the complete portfolio of Business Finland funding available to the companies. So as you can see, it is mostly 50% grants or loans, depending a bit on what they are used for. So we have more grant-based instruments into developing the business side of activities and also looking into new markets and having expert help to develop the markets which have been identified. And then we have more loan instruments on the R&D side when we are discussing then bigger budgets. So these are available for the individual companies, and in addition to that, we have for the research organizations co-innovation and co-creation funding, and these are then projects which involve not only R&D organizations or research organizations, but also companies. So in all these projects, there has to be a clear business target. So we welcome projects where research organizations and companies work together, but in a way which has a business aim. This looks maybe at first glance it has very little to do with drones, but again wrong. Also the European Space Agency, with the arrival of the new space economy, has expanded its interest towards the drone sector. And here in Finland we have for startup phase companies available a European Space Agency business incubator at the Aalto University, which also has very much interest to work with drone-related companies, so not only space-related. There is some funding available from that incubator, but it is maybe the biggest worth is from its links to the European Space Agency and its resources and the possibilities to develop your products in a way that you have a European Space Agency reference at the end. Kimmo Isbjörnsson is running the business incubator, and he's the best person for you to contact if this should interest you. But of course, I'll be happy to do the intro if this feels relevant. Yep. So that's from my part. The contacts, I'll be happy if you have the let's say the situational awareness side, smart mobility side, or then you have the digital trust, so indeed the security side of things. So you can contact any one of these people, and if you feel that you are clear on what you want to discuss, it may be easy. If you have an idea that doesn't really fit anywhere, then please call me, and then we see what's the best way to go forward. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Maybe it's time for the toast between the next the presentation. Cheers.
Cheers.
It's the Finnish way to have funny lectures.
Yeah.
But don't go away yet. I have a question about you that what we little bit look between some lectures that we are talking about a lot in the technology and the new innovations and everything, but we don't use so much the previous systems we have. The taxis are a very good example that we are talking a lot about the unmanned vehicles, that Uber is coming here and then there and they have vehicles which take us one place to the other. We have a very good taxi system, example in Finland.
We had.
No, okay, that's an opinion question. But still, we don't train the processes. We really go to the technology first. But I see that we had very good system in the Helsinki, this Tilaus system for ordering the bus, but never works well. But we much more look the process, but not so much. We need to look the process, but we look the technology. But you don't have actually the tools for the processes. You have more tools for the technology.
That's true, and it's okay. Let's maybe backtrack that a bit. Especially for the innovation funding purposes, it often turns around technologies and products, because that's what are brought to us. So indeed, it is also a bit, how do you say, self-created for Finland. We are a nation of engineers, so usually we go technology first. What we try to very much emphasize now in the new programs is the market pull as well. And also the ability to create bigger things. Like for now, at the moment we are discussing with a group of 20 companies a joint offering in the situational awareness arena, which would be then a system level solution rather than just individual products, but it will be more of a process like approach.
Exactly, and this is more and more coming. That's very important. Any questions from the audience? we see that we have a great opportunities for the companies and the organizations to get funded with the good ideas and the technology. And that's very important that small country like Finland, that we have this kind of Business Finland systems to help us to go in a global scale. Okay, last but not least, Stephen, come back. Thank you very much. And we have now the Stephen and Markus Sinerva. We have been going through interesting journey. You have your own, okay? Okay. And this drone hackathon was there in the few weeks ago, and now we can hear what was the outcome from these hackathons. We called them earlier in the Drone Olympics, but it was not a very good idea, maybe because of the Olympic Committee. It's only the hackathon. I was also attending a few of these, and it's very nice to see that how good ideas people have. And I'm not very worried about the Finnish unemployment rates, because the young generation will find a way to do the things in the new way. Can we use the audio? Can we use this? Okay. And then put this in the second one. Okay.
Hello everyone. What do you mean it's him again? Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so
stage is yours.
yeah,
Please.
thank you. I'm just going to give you a quick. Yeah, so I know that they are not here. Sorry. Ultra Hack are not here. But what I'll say is that Ian had contacted me earlier this year, to say, can you come and do something here? And I wasn't quite sure what this was, and he kept on pestering me about it. So I realised that maybe there was something quite good here. So a few people had actually contacted me. Markus was one of them, and one of the developers had also been speaking to me and said, why don't we do something? So I put together a team, and also Marco as well. He should come up here as well, because he's also part of this too. So we put together this team, and we wanted to discuss, or we wanted to see how we could, let's say, do something with the toxic, the toxic chemicals. So we have an intro video which I'll show you. Maybe we can hear something. So that was our trailer that actually was made by Markus. He actually made and edited this as well, which was fantastic. So really what we set out to do was to actually identify the toxic sites. So there were, I think there were 11. I think there were about 11 canisters, and and there was also a toxic pool which we had to take a sample for. So we had to basically come up with a way to do a report. No budget, we had no money, we didn't have any money at all, but the work that was done between Marco and also Markus, and then our development team as well. So that was Demo and also Marco. So they come up with a way that we could actually, let's say, have the idea where we come up with the execution and actually deliver the report of the toxic chemical site within 40 minutes. So very hard at work, these guys. What they done was they come up with a way to feed the information of the photographs that were taken, get the coordinates, and feed this into a server which would give us a report where we could have the request, inspect, and then actually deliver the instant report. So as soon as we finished the mission, which was less than 40 minutes, so it was like 38 minutes or something, that we had the report ready for the judges. So that's what we intended, and that's what we done, and that's why we won. And of course, one of the main aspects here is the safety. We really wanted to emphasise the safety with the whole thing, which is how you keep the air boss happy as well. So you always have to emphasise on the safety. Yeah. So that's what we done, and here we have the team. So there's one guy who's missing there, but that was the core of the team there, and we have the sample there. So we managed to get the sample as well. This was the checklist that Marcos had made and delivered at the start, and this was how the mission was done. So everything was done in this way. It was kept very strict and also very calm. It was quite windy that day, but it didn't interfere with anything. And yeah, it was an absolute success. So we had to develop, basically, was to locate the toxic site and the canisters, photograph all of those canisters, try to get the labels if possible as well. Photograph again, so taking the same site but taking two different photographs, one of the canister and one for the actual location. So to get the location, to get the coordinates right as well. So there was two photographs taken. Those were fed to the system. Upload the photographs to the cloud immediately after each photograph is taken. Script is run to push all those photographs, and we create a PDF report, which would be then available for everyone at the end of the mission. And this is what we will get to see. So this is an example of one of the photographs. So we get the photograph, and this had to be done, as I say, we didn't know where they were, so they had to be found by eye. So they had to be found, pretty quickly. And this is what we get. So we get the spillage, and this was for the actual. This was for the sample, wasn't it? Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a sample collected, and I have to say that the sample collected. I think Marco has it with you. You have it with you? Do you want to bring it up here? So, I'm actually. It actually looks very basic, and maybe again you want to look at it again, just because this thing that they had developed, it is very basic, but the amount of work that went into this was actually very, very impressive. I would say very, very impressive, because you have weights there, and the weights are not randomly put on there. They're actually put on there for a specific reason, because every time that this sample comes down, it falls on the exact same place every time. So it's not going to be random that it's going to fall about and get stuck. It will always fall in the same place, and that was very important, mainly for, I would say, for the confidence itself. But I don't know if you want to add something, because you were the one who was actually.
You pretty much said what I was planning, but just briefly about the workflow. I was flying our Mavic 2 Pro, and we were doing everything strictly according to this checklist, which is everyday life in manned aviation. It's everywhere, checklist and checklists. We searched the area fully manually in this kind of angle, not straight downwards, to avoid obstacles visually. And as Steven said, took 1 or 2 pictures according the demand to get the labels and the GPS position. And then, according to the checklist, we went to 20 meters to safety altitude, sent the file immediately to the ground crew, our coder, who put this picture to the script, and the script made it to a PDF file, this one. So it was semi-automatic, and as Steven said, we had no budget, but if we would have had some kind of budget, there would have been much more automatic
Yeah.
point of views.
And also a bit more detail, like so obviously maps as well. We would have a map location where you could see everything as well. So that would have been there as well.
And what I want to point, we were totally ready after 40 minutes with a ready report.
Yes, yes. As soon as we landed, we showed the report to the judges right away. So they had the report, and that was. I think we were the only ones to do that. I think as well, actually. I think we were the only ones to do that. So, but you know, it was very, very successful. There's the team. You know, they done a great job, and I think they were worthy winners as well. And you know, thanks to the team as well who organised it, and also Robots Expert for their air boss. It was much needed as well. So yeah. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Excellent work.
Yes. Yes. Sorry. Yes. Which?
Yeah. Okay.
Which one? Which one? Sorry. Which one?
Team presentation.
Team. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. And this is one very important part of the developing of the drones is that this type of hackathons, that the new ideas are there, and the Israelis are very good in that because they have these hackathons, so all kind of problems.
Yeah.
They have a problem, they send it out during the weekend, the teams are solving them, and then they have a solution, and the best ones they capitalize.
But the Finns are better.
Yeah. No, but I mean that we should have this kind
yeah,
of
we should absolutely, because I think that this kind of these kind of projects, I think you know we should have more of them, and I think that it just shows the professionalism that we have of not just our team but also other teams as well, and I think that this could be a much bigger thing in the future, and I hope to see next year that there will be a lot more, hopefully better. But it just means that we have to step up our game a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know,
and also for the companies and organizations, this is a good way to solve different kind of challenges. Making short hackathons, open competition, and you get a lot of good ideas, and then you can capitalize these ones which really support your business and the problem.
But one thing which I really thought was very important here was not just the reporting, but also the device that was actually made. Because a lot of these devices used to take samples, they're always very expensive, extremely expensive, which might actually involve buying expensive drones as well as expensive equipment. But here, we could have an off-the-shelf product, which would be very, very good for developing countries, which would be good for like farmers or whatever who don't want to spend too much money, but they have the ability to take samples from somewhere quite far away. But also, I think developing countries, this is also a possibility. So
yeah, and that's why we need also the good cooperation at the international level, that we don't make the same wheel all the time. That really can concentrate what we are the best. Okay.
But to build on that, off the shelf versus getting the job done in the sense of good to great. We can all take off the shelf product, but it's all about the vertical integration. And I think what set you guys apart here was that you developed a customized payload that was adequate for the job, and you had a data processing to provide the actionable insight, because it was not about the drone flying into the drone. It was about getting the job done.
Yeah.
And that's what we see in the drone industry now very much. That in some industries we have great vertical integration for photogrammetry, where you have mission planning and data collection and post-processing.
Yeah.
But we have many regions and many areas where we don't have that integration yet. And we are seeing a divergence in the drone market, where it's not just about drones and the phantoms or whatever. We see that there are becoming more and more specialized workflows, be they military workflows for surveillance and ISTAR, or be they water sampling or whatever chemical sampling workflows.
I think a lot of people, you know, concentrate too much on the drone itself. You know, they focus too much on, I have this drone, this is a drone that does the job. That wasn't the case for us. No. It was a case of getting the job done. It was a case of trying to get the data, getting the sample. The drone is, you know, it's not important in a sense. Of course, it's important to get the job done, but the focus was the application. The focus was, as being creative, and the amount of testing that was done by these guys. I mean, the amount of testing, they had done a lot of testing. That's the thing that goes unnoticed. That's why it went smoothly. But the work that went on behind there, that's what that's what I see, because I was getting the WhatsApp messages. I leave my phone away for 2 hours and I come back and there's 100 messages, and it was like that all the time. But that just showed the dedication. It showed the amount of work that was going on there, So, but I can't wait till next year.
Good, very good. Okay, now we have again the second day, traditional first Drone Congress in Finland. Tomorrow we have a third day. I hope that you still have time and interest to come. It's a very interesting day. Today we had it the smart city, and tomorrow we will have forestry and extreme conditions. There will be very good lectures from 9 to 12:40. And we start with the breakfast here, 8:30, and we are in this same room, yes. And will be very interesting ending session tomorrow that you are all welcome. Sorry?
Are you going to dance?
Yes, I'm having a free day in Friday, I hope so. It has been a great pleasure to build up this event. It has been a lot of help. I don't know if Norman is still here, but the Federation has been helping us, and this has been done 2 months job to get this happening, and all the drone people and the cyber people and our sponsors, and it has been very nice journey to come in this event, because there was no common understanding in the cyber people and the drone people that what this will be in the future, what kind of threats, what kind of challenges we will have, this kind of critical infrastructure changes what we are having in very soon. We don't know if this happens in the 1 year or 10 years, but we can be sure that it will happen. And if we are not ready, the competition situation is not good for the Finnish companies, because we are very small and we don't have too much funding capabilities here in Finland. That's why we had to do the cooperation. We had to use the international cooperation to make it better, and especially that we don't do anything what is not but we do something what is not done in somewhere else. We have a specialties what we can use here. And we still have some glasses bubbles, so you are free, and we can now have continued discussions. Thank you very much.